on the Augusta website after it's over, so you can go watch it, and you can also save the chat, and I'll explain that more at the end. But if you two would like to take it away, start this however you'd like to start it. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, welcome to our house. It's good to be here. That we finally got through to this technical pathway. So we're here in Crittenden Hollow in Hampshire County, West Virginia. I'm Joe Herrmann, and this is Sam Herrmann. And
we're squished here in our little office. We had to make some adjustments. We've been working on this for the last week, looking forward to seeing everybody. And so far I see Ben, I saw Flora. Thanks for being in the space with us, though. That's what I feel like I'm in. So what would you like to know? It's an interesting concept to sit here and play music. I brought a couple guitars and a banjo up here. And those of you that know I play hammer dulcimer, you can forget it. I'm not taking it up the stairs and trying to squish it in here. But we were prepared to do that earlier. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out so well.
I wonder how we can see other people that are here.
Yeah.
I can't chat in the chat right now on my phone, but I wanted to hear about the early days of the Crittenden Hollow String Band and sort of some of those the early days playing in Paw and I'm curious about the genesis of that band. It's been so long lasting and wonderful.
Oh, thanks, Emily. It really began probably, I moved here in 1973, and Joe was here by 1974, where we met, and after a season of picking apples and going out and playing some music in the streets, we realized, hey, this is pretty cool. So it was through a variety of events that we started down at Galax with his brother John, who signed up for Galax Fiddlers Convention, a band named Crittenden Hollow String Band from Paw, West Virginia, because his theory was he'd have a better chance of being listened to if he was a southern band as opposed to a northern band. So that's the long part of the story where Crittenden Hollow started. We live on Crittenden Hollow Road. We shortened the name quite many years ago. But Michael Klein, who you all know and love, many of you do, like we do, he lived over in Cape and Bridge in Hampshire County at the time. And when we started playing music, he just became part of our family immediately. And as he would say, we wore out tires running up and down the roads to just play music with each other. So he was actually our first official guitar player. Wouldn't you say that? He was the first Crittenden Hollow guitar player. So as a trio, we started playing out and about. Do you have anything to add into that part?
Well, maybe even before that, it's when Sam and I ended up here in Crittenden Hollow in Hampshire County, we were looking for resources to be able to maintain staying alive. So we picked apples. We picked apples. Oh, you did say that? I was studying. Did you talk about going to, I was trying to do this technical stuff. Yeah. You talk about going to Key West?
No.
Okay, so we went out busking one night in Annapolis, Maryland, and we made more money in a couple hours than we could make in a couple days picking apples. So we said, okay, this music thing is a lot more fun. So we decided to take it on the road. We jumped in our Volkswagen bus and brought our friend Robbie Gordon with us. and headed down to Key West, Florida. And that was before we ever thought of calling ourselves Crittenden Hollow, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so that was the first, and we probably had a handful of tunes, 10 or 12, or we were learning more along that trip with our friend Robbie Gordon, and we would pull into a town along the way, and we'd look in the phone book. That's back in the days when there were phone books and telephone booths.
I remember that.
This is like 1975, I bet. And we'd look in the phone book for the organic restaurant, or the
Restaurants that had good food.
vegetarian organic restaurant, and call them up and say, okay, we play music and we'd like to come over and play some music. And the deal is, if you'll feed us and let us pass the hat, we'll come play music in your restaurant. And invariably they said, yeah, that sounds good. Come over and do that. And so we did. We did that. And then we would run into college campuses and we'd try to play music there, but there wasn't a lot of interest in those college students. But we just kept doing it. We ended up in an avocado grove around Jacksonville, Florida.
I think Jesus was living there then.
It was Jesus. There was a guy that was claimed to be, I guess, the reincarnation of Jesus himself. And he had, oddly enough, I don't know, 10 or 15 people that were actually following along with him. Saying, okay, sounds good to us. And
more than Jesus had, right?
What?
That's more than Jesus had.
He had 12 or 11.
That's right. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So fast forward that was when we got back from that, we discovered that was really a wonderful way to live our lives, is playing music. So we just started pursuing it at that point. But meanwhile, when Michael discovered us playing music in Crittenden Hollow, he just wrapped his arms around us and said, come on, I'm going to introduce you to everybody around here that plays music. So so we played with Michael as much as we could there for a while. Our first, then the evolution was that my brother got out of jail and he needed a job. Poor guy, he needed a job. I'm laughing, but it's kind of funny to tell people that he got out of jail and needed a job. So we gave him a job playing as our full-time guitar player. And that's when the first quartet of Crittenden Hollow String Band really started hitting the road. And that was in about 1978, I guess. We just started playing lots and going to lots of festivals. And at some point, his wife picked up the bass that Joe had bought. She said, I think I want to learn to play bass. So we became a quartet after that. And I think our first recording was made in 1979. We were out in Kansas. We went to Kansas to the Winfield contest. My brother just thought that it was a really good thing to do, so we went out there. We met a lot of people. Highwoods were playing there that year, and at the end of that festival, Doug Dorshug offered to record us. So we did our first recording in Berkeley Springs at the Star Theater after they closed down for the winter. So we took over the Star Theater and did our first recording and second recording too. But and then as bands evolved, we evolved, and after, I guess it was 1980 or so, 1981, we knew Joe Fallon and his buddy Pete Gordon. They moved down to the area from the Boston area. They've been playing with a lot of different people up in Boston, and they moved down, and Joe's ideas that he wanted to be part of Critton Hollow String Band. So anyway, we needed some people, and they fit the bill, and we've been in love with them ever since. And even though we lost Pete Gordon a few years ago quite a number of years ago to teaching mathematics in Morgan County, Joe Fallon and Joe and I have been a trio since,
84, 85.
1985. We've continued to play together even till today. So that's kind of the evolution. We've done a bunch of traveling and exciting things all over the country and the world, and we've got a lot of historical stories about how stupid we were on the road and stuff. But everybody has those stories in their life stories, the journey that you're on. So I'll never forget going out we used to do this song called Railroading on the Great Divide. It's a Carter family song that I heard Jeanette sing it in Winchester, Virginia many years ago. And it was one of those inspirations where you say, I need to learn that song. So of course I did. And we were traveling out west in a van. And for some reason, I don't know why, but we stopped on the railroad tracks. You know how people say never stop. Well, it was out in the middle of nowhere.
It was Pete Gordon's idea for a funny photograph. He said, let's stop on the railroad track and we'll all get out and pretend we're pushing the van off of the railroad track. And that'll be really funny. And so, of course, yeah, we all agreed. That's a great idea.
We were sober. We were sober. It was just fun.
It was a very flat part of Texas, as I recall.
And open,
So it turned out that we could see that train coming for a ways that was coming down the railroad track that we were sitting on.
Railroading on the Great Divide.
And so, of course, was it I who tried to start the van? Of course, the van didn't start when we tried to start it because the train was coming. But here we are to tell about it. We did get it started. We got off the railroad track.
That's a stupid thing.
Saved our lives.
Yeah, it's a fun story, though. Fun memory. So that's the story of Critton Hollow String Band. We now call ourselves Critton Hollow because we've been called Creepy Hollow String Beans too often. So we just cut it down to. Jeanette Carter used to call us a Critton Hollow Band. So that's what we are now.
Critton Hollow.
So what else would you like to know? I still don't see anybody.
You got some questions in the chat. Do you see them, or would you like me to?
No, I don't.
No, let me see. I can turn on that chat. I was trying to get this gallery view that I can't find. I don't know where that is. I've done it before.
Oh, there we go. Can you get the volume up? That's one of the questions. How do we learn harmony singing? Well, that's interesting. Harmony singing for me, fortunately, comes natural. I just would rather sing a harmony than a melody, which we do have a song I could sing in a little bit, but I'd rather talk about it. But yeah, the harmony singing, I just love to sing harmony. How did I learn it? I've been playing music since I was first grade. I've been involved in music, and I just feel really grateful that it just more or less comes natural to me. So I can't tell you how to learn it.
Yeah, it comes natural to Sam. Sam will also often help me find the notes that are good harmonies, or I understand music theory, so I can know what notes are available against a chord, and I can search them out that way. And sometimes they come to me fairly naturally, but not nearly as easily as it does to Sam. But we just work them out, find them. It's like anything, putting pieces together and taking your time and putting it together.
Well, I appreciate the advice about the little gallery view. I do see it's in the right-hand corner, but that is sort of like, it still gives me a full screen. I see that little square you're talking about. Oh, well. Anyway, on with the show. I do see a question about, yeah, uh-oh, you're bad, John Herrmann.
There's
What's
another
that?
question on up that's about people. Someone is asking to hear about the various regions of West Virginia that have distinct styles of fiddle music.
Well,
That's there's lots of people that have done a lot more studying and understanding about that than I have. I just don't. It's not a question for me.
What if we reframe that question to be more about, like, what are some things about Hampshire County that are unique or that you enjoy, or how have you seen music and your experience in Hampshire County over the years? What's it like?
So, I missed one word of that. What was the last sentence you said?
Just like, over your many, many, many years of being here and participating in the music scene in the eastern part of the state, and specifically in Hampshire County, what's it like here? Who are some of your influences, or, what have you seen over the years of being here?
Hampshire County has a thriving musical community, as you well know, Ben, which you are part of, Ben. And we feel very fortunate to be part of that.
talk about the early on with Jack Schaffenecker and
right.
Sloan
So
Staggs
some of the older fellows that were around at the time when we were getting started, there was a fellow named Jack Schaffenecker from Cape and Bridge that played an electric guitar, but he sat on his amplifier and played that guitar, but he even though it was an electric guitar, he played it the way anyone would play an acoustic guitar mostly. I mean, he had his own style, which was pretty advanced musically, but he loved to play the old tunes, and he would play. When we were learning tunes, we would want to play them for extended periods of time, and Jack was, one thing he had was patience, and he would sit there and enjoy every minute. Well, you see, we thought he enjoyed every minute of it. Seemed as though he did.
No, he did.
He did. He did. He loved to be with people, and he lived very simply in a little cinder block cabin.
Raised earthworms for fishing, and taught Joe showed Joe how to float on his back in the Cape and River.
Yeah, he was. That's it. To me, it's very interesting. We went swimming in the Cape and River, and he would just lay there floating with his toes sticking up. And I said, Jack, and I would try that. You try it sometime and see if you can do it. I bet you can. And I couldn't do it. And I said, Jack, how do you do that? And he said, practice. So I did practice that, and now I can do that. And it's the oddest thing, because it's just as simple as anything.
So he was just a very generous person with his time and the music. He was I don't know if you ever met the Shanholts, Joe and her sisters. They played music, and they were cousins of Jack. And so we would get together with all of the Shanholts, and their dad was a banjo player. We never met Uncle Vern Whitaker, but he was a driving force of fiddling in Cape and Bridge area, Hampshire County.
Just a little before our time.
Right. The biggest thing, I think, is the old timers. There's Kelton Roten, who we spent a lot of time at his house, and with him and Israel Welch and Sloan Staggs. And they were. That's, if there's one thing that I could say I really learned from them, besides the music, is the generosity of sharing whatever I have to offer. in the world of music. Anyway, which, I think, it's just that patience and enthusiasm and welcoming that they all showed us of these so-called outsiders. We were in our 20s and just totally immersed in the idea of playing this music. And now it's just so amazing to me that, people that have never heard this old time type of music, it's such a community music. It really is. And as places, of course, a lot of people know about Clip Top, etc. That's a huge community.
Down for 6:30. I didn't know you were coming. 1 second.
Anyway, other than that, I don't think that when Ben asked about Joe, his influenced by fiddling, we had been influenced by people's music all over the world, more or less. And Joe, for one, has never been like tied to a certain style. What he plays is all his own style. And wouldn't you say that? Something like that, Joe? I don't want to speak for you.
No, that sounds good. Keep talking.
We had a fellow named John Jackson, who was a West Virginian that moved into the Hollow for a short period of time. That we enjoyed playing with him a good bit, and he definitely had a different style of fiddling than Joe was doing. And anybody that's familiar with John Jackson would know there's a lot of notes. In fact, I still play a version of Turkey in the Straw.
John Johnson.
John Johnson, right? John Jackson.
John Jackson, somebody
He's
else.
also a wonderful guy. So anyway, our music has been influenced by many, many influences throughout our life and continues to be.
So our neighbor had John Johnson living on his farm and brought him down to meet us.
He didn't have a fiddle at the time.
And he said, our neighbor Nick found out that John Johnson played the fiddle and said, "Oh, well, you need to meet Joe and Sam." So he brought him down to us, and we'd never heard of him or met him. And so we're standing out there by the car, and Nick says, "So Joe plays the fiddle," and John Johnson says to me, "Really? Can you make it talk?" I said, like, okay, what's this bullshit? Like, I can play it a little bit, but no, I can't make it talk. And I'm just thinking, this guy's totally full of himself and full of it. So I went and got the fiddle, and I might have hummed on it a little bit. And then I handed it to him, and it was kind of frightening
He made it
what
talk.
he could do with that thing.
He made it
Just-
talk.
This guy out of nowhere. And so Sam and I got to meet him a good bit. And, of all things, here he was living in Critton Hollow, living up at Nick Smart's farm. And we would get together and
We'd have supper and tunes. And
he wrote poems, and he had inventions and drawings. And he was what do they call
jack of all trades.
something like that. That'll work.
Yeah.
Didn't you say he tried to steal your fiddle?
Yeah. Well, I don't think he was really stealing it because I hadn't really given it to him, but I was happy for him to have it. But he decided to leave, and when he left, he didn't give much word or anything about that. And Nick went and found him at the bus station in Winchester, and he had my fiddle. John Johnson did. And Nick said, "Well, that's Joe's fiddle, isn't it?" And John said, "Yes." And so Nick snatched it back and brought it back to me. But I would have been just as happy for John to keep it, to have it, because he was itinerant, I guess is maybe a word. He was always moving.
Well, he was discovered he was discovered and nurtured and swooped up in the arms of Augusta for a number of years.
Well, that's where he kind of ended up after he left Critton Hollow. He ended up in Elkins.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, but yeah, he was.
But he was well adopted there.
So, you want to try and sing a song? I'll give you the banjo.
All right. What do you want to do?
Well, this is West Virginia Week in old time music, so I don't sing this very much anymore, but I got it from Michael Klein. When we used to hang together a lot, I used to ask him to sing this song all the time. And it's written by another West Virginian named Billy Ed Wheeler. And at the time I learned this song, I actually was using the subject of this song. There's an ordinance in the town that said they have to tear it down. That little old shack out back so dear to me. So the health department said its day was over and dead. It stands forever in my memory. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Don't let them tear that precious building down. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. For there's not another one like it in the country or the town. Can you hear this? It was not so long ago that I went tripping through the snow out to that shack behind old Hampton, where I'd set me down and rest like a snowbird on her nest, and I'd breathe the sears and rope a cattle along. Well, I would love happy to keep it through the quarter moon, as my dad's kin had done before. It was on that one spot there, like cares the people got, and it gave the same relief to which your poor. Sing it. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Don't let them tear that precious building down. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. For there's not another one like it in the country or the town. Well, it was not a castle fair, but I could dream my future there. Build my castles to the yellow jacket's drum. Well, I could orbit round the sun, fight with General Washington, or be on the golden throne. It wasn't fancy built at all. We had newspapers on the wall. It was air conditioned in the winter time. Well, it was just a hot hut, but its door was never shut. And a girl could get inside out in dime. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Don't let them tear that precious building down. Don't let them tear that little brown building down. Oh, there's not another one like it in the country or the town. Don't let them do that. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other questions here? No. Okay. Well, good. What else can we share with you today?
Where'd you get your mask, Ben? That's good, nice.
Who made that for you?
So it's from an old T-shirt of mine, and a good friend made it and said, "I bet that you will wear this because it's cool." And and it worked. And so
Yeah, right. You need anything you can that help you be cool. That's good.
yeah, right. It's a little bit punk rock. It's a little edgy. It's got a fiddle on it, you know. It's my style. Oh, there's the fiddle. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's skeleton.
Fiddle,
I know somebody else who would like
and Food Lion has commented on how cool it is, but I can live with that.
it, right? Yeah. So, I have not been playing it. I've been playing guitar off and on since I was about 15. I'm just answering the question there.
What is it?
But that was only to facilitate singing. I never considered myself a guitar player, but I can play behind banjo or fiddle, and I really enjoy that part of it. But I had no aspirations to become a guitar player, you know.
So the banjo was my really first instrument, but that was after I had taken a few accordion lessons, and I bailed out of that and moved into banjo, and that would have been that's like close to 60 years ago, because I was about 10 or 11.
You're that old, Joe.
And it was more back in the 60s folk music craze, and
Pete Seeger.
more of a Pete Seeger style, and then it moved into clawhammer later on. But banjo was my real first instrument. Mm-hmm.
A little bit about like kind of what's going on around like Winchester area and that sort of stuff. You know, like I know you guys play a lot of music with different people that might be more from kind of the bluegrass world there, or I'm not exactly sure. I don't know exactly what I even mean to ask, but I just know there's a lot going on like there that you guys are involved in as well.
Well, we're fortunate to have made good friends with David McLaughlin and Marcia Wilburn, who are, I guess,
Bluegrass
very
stars.
Renowned in the bluegrass world.
In fact, they're just being inducted into the Bluegrass Hall of Fame. They're the Johnson Mountain Boys. That's the latest. So, but we get to play with them, and Murphy and Henry, and as you know, Red Henry comes to the cabin a lot. So you can tell them about the cabin. Years back, probably in 1978, I was playing at the Apple Butter Festival in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, and this young fellow comes up to me and he said, this is my grandfather, and if you have just a moment, I would really like to show you the hammer dulcimer that he built. And so he had it there at the festival. So we went to his car and opened up, and sure enough, there was this beautiful dulcimer that his grandfather had built. Well, that fellow turned out to be Paul Roonsberg, who through all these years later is a dear friend that has been, he was playing bluegrass at the time, but his heart was always really soaked with the old time traditional type music. And Sloan Staggs was a wonderful mentor to him. But he wanted to play music so much that he played with whatever he could. And so it was bluegrass that was happening in Hampshire County back then. So he organized his students and got them playing bluegrass. So he had people to play with it. So, but now, as you know, it's evolved into, he's just a big part of the community of old time music and supporter of gathering. But as far as, and then we've had, during this time, I'm happy to see your masks as you're sitting there together, but during this time, we've had a couple of sessions out on the porch with a few friends at a time. That's been really nice. And we've gone to see David and Marshall in Winchester too, and had a couple of outside sessions. That's really nice to do. So we try and keep playing in some form or the other. You're due to come over here sometime soon, Ben. I think you are.
I'd love to do that.
Yes. Yes. So let's see.
Is there a tune that Paul plays that you could think of? Like, is there one that now that we've talked about him a little bit, is there like the cabin tune or something that sticks out that would be a nice tune to play?
You mean thinking of Paul Roonsberg?
Yeah.
Probably something in D.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Westport gals.
They like to play in D over there at the cabin. They can do it all night long and night after night for a long time. Every once in a while they touch on G and A, but D's a favorite over there. So we speak of the cabin. That's, I don't know if we mentioned this. It belongs to Paul Roonsberg, who Sam was speaking of, and he's a catalyst for getting people together in a community sense, and of course the music around the music. And sometimes I've seen as many as 30 people in there.
Also, sometimes around pigs and cows and sheep, it gets people together.
But they don't play music.
Yeah, they don't.
And was anybody around for October? Last October, I had them down as master artists to play for one of the sessions. A bunch came down. I don't know if anyone here was there for that, but that was a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly came back thrilled. They were thrilled.
Yeah, I think we had a real good time, and we stayed up and played. We played a good bit of music that evening.
Yeah. Well, part of the love of the cabin, for me is the humility that exists, the true humility that they're just playing music together. They're not trying to impress each other or anybody. It's just really sometimes overwhelming because there's so many people there, but it's a really nice thing to have happening in Hampshire County. And a lot of traveling musicians get dragged over there to experience it. So that's kind of cool too.
He was just asking if this was a skinhead on this banjo. No, it's not. It's an Enoch banjo. You can't hardly see much with the way we're stuffed in this corner here. But I did use skinheads for a long time, but certain problematic issues with them in terms of humidity and the weather. So it's just the regular plastic head. And you asked the name of the tune that was called Westport Gals?
Yeah. You had another game for that.
Not that I know.
So, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I finally got home, so I can be on the video now. I was curious. I wasn't sure if I'd ever told you this, but I was curious about how much you hung out with Ray Benson back in the day. Because when we opened for Asleep at the Wheel one time, he came back into our dressing room. We were talking about West Virginia, and he mentioned Critton Hollow by name as like, you know, the music scene back in the day in Pawpaw. And I was just curious
Well,
what
that's
you
nice.
remember of that.
Yeah, it's nice of him to
When you say he mentioned Critton Hollow, he was talking about the physical place or the band?
The band. He
Oh,
was talking
really?
about the musicians he knew, or you know, over in the area, and he mentioned, you
Yeah.
know, the Critton Hollow folks.
Well, we knew him through Pawpaw, but they actually hit the road just before I moved to the Hollow, or in some way, you know. But we'd run into each other because we had the Pawpaw connection, so that's how I knew Critton Hollow. We played the same stage with him because of being from Pawpaw, fundraisers, etc. You know, but that's nice that he still makes that connection.
He had a fond place in his heart for Pawpaw. So when he left to go to Austin and then was making it big, he did not forget Pawpaw, and he came back on a couple occasions for some fundraisers, and we might have opened up the show a couple times. And but when we found ourselves here, and they had just left to go to Austin, the whole county was abuzz with what the energy that Asleep at the Wheel had brought to this area. And,
it was really cool.
There were several people that became really good friends of ours that either drove for them or helped with equipment and things like that. So
drivers.
They really left a buzz here.
Actually, one of their drivers, Ralph Hines, helped us build our house when we were building our house. He came over and he worked for $5 an hour with Joe to frame up the house, and that's it. But
I guess $5 an hour was a thing in the 80s.
Right. Cool.
But it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, so it's interesting that well, first I want to thank Ben and Rachel for inviting us to be part of Old Time Week. It's very exciting as a hammer dulcimer player to be included in a group of old time musicians. I won't get into the politics of different instruments and what's accepted or whatever, but I've always believed that that we belong wherever, you know. But the only way that I can teach hammer dulcimer is the way I play it, is to be immersed in old time music, and so that's why I was really excited. And I've done that once before. I think Jerry invited me one year to be part of the Old Time Week. So it was so great because that's the only way you're going to really learn the rhythm of old time music, is to be immersed in it. So I'm sorry that I can't be on campus with everybody close to each other, but I'm really honored to have been invited.
Well, if you were on campus, you'd be the only one.
I don't know. Maybe
there aren't a lot of people running around the campus now, right?
No.
Right. Yeah. Not too many people on the physical campus right now. That's true.
Are they planning on it? Have they made up a plan for how they're going to do that there?
There's a plan. There's a plan. There's going to be some mandatory masks and social distancing. There's sort of an mandatory testing and various things like that.
Even at this point, we don't know what we're headed into. We don't know where we're headed, because next week may bring new concepts of how we're supposed to deal with it.
So I wish everybody to find comfort in their spaces in any way they can. Yeah, see, there's that fiddle player, that young fiddle player I saw. Hi, Flora. You don't remember me, but I met you when you were in Cape and Bridge with your mom and dad and Brandy.
When you used to be little.
She said hi, but she was muted. You want to say hi again?
Hi.
Okay. I'm going to mute her now.
Maybe would you guys mind giving us one more tune before we part?
All right.
You want to try Blue?
All right. Here's a song that Sam and I sang. We used to sing a whole lot.
Can't
Like
find my tape.
40 years ago. I heard it hit the ground. And
Hold
lost
this
the
for a
trick.
minute.
It's a song I bet you've heard, but you don't hear it a lot. Sam lost her pick.
Oh, there it is.
She found it. Well, we used to sing this in a place called Cofont over there in Morgan County. When actually that started when we made our trip to Key West, Florida, and when we got back, we went up to this resort called Cofont and said, "Oh, we'd like to play some music up here in your somehow, you know, at this resort, Treetop House," they had called it. And it was like they were waiting for us. And they said, "Yeah, we want you to play every Sunday, and we'll feed you and give you all the beer you can drink." Well, they didn't know what they were talking about. But they found out what they meant.
Well, we just started out with the two of us, although Michael would join us some days and stuff. But yeah, that was our first regular job.
Right. $75 a week. Well, my wife died and left me a farm. My wife died and left me a farm. My wife died and left me a farm. That's why I'm going back to Charlestown. I had a dog and his name was Blue. Had an old dog and his name was Blue. Had an old dog and his name was Blue. I bet you $5 for the dog Blue. Come on, Blue. You good dog, you. Well, Blue treated possum in a hollow log. Blue treated possum in a hollow log. Blue treated possum in a hollow log. And you can tell from that he was a good old dog. Come on, Blue. You good dog. Well, I'll take my gun, I'll take my horn, and I'll get me a possum in the new ground corn. Old Blue barked, and I went to see Blue. Had him a possum up in the tree. Possum crawled out on the limb. Blue barked, and possum knocked out in him. Come on, Blue. You good dog. When old Blue died, he died so hard that he shook the ground in my backyard till dug his grave with a silver spade. And I lowered it down on a golden chain. Every link I didn't cry, his name said here, Blue. You good dog, good dog. When I get to heaven, first thing I'll do is I'll grab my horn and I'll call for Blue. You good dog.
Well, thank you all. I have no idea what time it is, but it seems like we've been here quite long enough, don't you think?
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
All right, carry on, and you'll be
Stay safe.
And,
be well. Okay.
awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you all so much for attending this cultural session. And thank you to Augusta's sponsors for making this possible again. The West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History, the West Virginia Humanities Council, the National Endowments of the Arts, and Davis and Elkins College. Thank you all so much for participating, for attending this cultural session.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. And Ben.
Thanks, Sam and Joe. That was so interesting and just lovely to get to spend an hour with you.
Right, bye, everyone.